next topic is very pertinent for each one of you. It is a presentation on understanding contract terms on shipping to avoid trade disputes. We have a person coming up on the stage who's an authority on this subject. Mr. Rengarajan is the director for India Corporate Office for Torq Commodities. Popularly known as Rajan, he is a seasoned thought leader in the shipping and trading industry with over 3 decades of experience, and presently as a member of the senior management team at Torq Commodities and a registered independent director with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs in India. He is known for his expertise in management, business development and leadership, and his career includes key roles such as CEO of Auburn Shipping DMCC and Chief Executive at Transocean Shipping Ventures, where he optimized vessel operations and drove the business success. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also tell you that Rajan recently completed the Independent Director Program at Directors Institute, World Council of Directors, and holds an MBA from Liverpool John Moores University. Please put your hands up for Mr. Rajan.
Cargo disputes, something which we all don't like, but we do face. I've just put across a few points. I know this room has a lot of experience, and I don't think there is much new into this. But it is just a perspective that we keep reviewing our processes. So like, how best to avoid trade disputes? The best is to have a good KYC process. I know when I say KYC process, some of the mediaries, brokers, they get a bit worried. You know, your KYC has taken, some of the big companies, they tell, you know, your KYC has taken 2 days. I normally tell them, KYC takes 1-2 days, but it's done for the benefit of both. So each company, we should have a proper KYC process, understanding who's what. Next thing you can have is the reference check. You all have industry friends. You can check if it's a new company, if it's an old company, who are the people you can make. That is also another good way of doing things. Another is a robust internal team. I didn't mean the robust, our commodity friends, but it's about the robust team. We must have team members who understand contracts. That's very important. There are people in sales, accounts, but we need to have people who have expertise in contracts. That's really very important. One thing I have not mentioned here, you know, one of the root cause for a lot of disputes, any guesses which is not written here? In last 5 years, major dispute is due to WhatsApp. Many times things are agreed on WhatsApp over a conversation which is like going on for 3 days, and then something is agreed and something else is in the contract. So that's where the experienced team comes into picture, that you have to draft a contract properly. Cargo specs, I don't think I should mention anything very specific. We have to mention cargo specs in the correct manner so that you avoid disputes due to something like you have not mentioned moisture and you have not mentioned FFA, you have not mentioned this. There has to be an agreed standard. Trustworthy clientele, I said, again, this is something very important. You have to do your checks. Next thing is communication. This is something which is commonly missing. You know, we all talk about common sense, but something which is missing. Communication is just like if you made a contract, and even if there is like some slight changes, it is better that you pick up the phone and speak and then confirm it over an email. Many a times, things are left for imagination. So that's a important thing, to communicate what you're doing and what is update. I even tell my team, even if your shipment is on time, please let them know. Don't let them know on the 31st of the month that your ship has sailed. No, do it on the day it's sailing. So it's effective communication. Then next thing is Incoterms, something which is very important. Better to train the team, understand and train the team on Incoterms. I'm not going to be in the details of Incoterms, but just to give a short brief. It's a common language in international trade. It's been established by the International Chamber of Commerce. You know, it gives clarity and it helps in avoiding disputes. Many of the terms we may not be using, but it's good to have an understanding. The last version was in 2020, and it has a clear chart. You can see on the right side of the screen. It clearly shows where the risk transfer happens. Many times in CFR contacts, people start fighting, maybe a cargo damage is there, water seepage is there. Somebody told, you are supposed to deliver me good cargo. Yeah, correct. But then there are certain responsibilities which you need to understand. Like in most of the contracts or CFR contracts, if you can see the picture, the risk transfer happens the moment cargo is on board. So the insurance works basis this. It's not that you say, in spirit you are supposed to deliver cargo in good condition. Yeah, that is correct. But we all have to understand what are the roles, what are the responsibilities, obligations, and where does the risk actually transfer. I would recommend this chart to be pasted in people who are making contracts and for a basic understanding. If you look at the marine transport, which most of us are involved, these are the major 4 terms involved: FAS, FOB, CFR, and CAF. Many times people mix up these terms, miss certain important terms, and then the disputes start. There are total 11 terms, 4 which are used only in marine, and the rest of the 7, all these are like multimodal. You can use it for any mode of transport. Now, how to use the apt Incoterms? There are 3 things important: cost allocation, obligation, and risk. If these 3 things are well understood, you will use the correct Incoterms. If you go, you can go back on this. See, whichever term it's suiting your contract, you can agree for that. Mistakes to avoid in contracts. Common mistakes, sort of. Of course, I told one already, WhatsApp. WhatsApp, you chat over 3 days and then you miss the first one, you make different contract, then there are problems. Like if you see using wrong Incoterms. For example, selling X warehouse, but written as FOB. Common problem. Some of the people, you will see this common in Africa, they will tell, I am selling FOB. But in effect, they will be selling X warehouse. Later on, you will come to know that, they were talking about actually X warehouse, but they mentioned FOB. So without knowing the details, it is very difficult. A second thing is about CIF and CFR. Commonly confused. If you remember the chart of the Incoterms, CIF is not there. It's a convenient term to shift the insurance. So you'll have to understand whether the contract is CIF or CFR. Common mistakes. Then not determining who pays terminal handling charges. Now it's pretty clear, but some of the contracts it's mentioned, like some trade practices are there. Even like one example is in India, some of the trades, they say that it's agreed that the terminal handling charges at destination are paid by the shipper. It's a very small thing, but this leads to sort of disputes. And sometimes you'll find X warehouse terms, FOB terms, these are used without knowing implications. Later on, people come and tell you that, we did not know this is not what we meant. That is where Incoterms are important. The meaning is clear and distinct, so there cannot be any mistakes. One more mistake is not being specific when naming places. If you mention CFR, you have to put the port name also. Same thing, FOB, till where, what it means. If you are using CIF terms, sometimes it can contravene the contracts. You're supposed to take an insurance for at least 110% of the value. Another common mistake in contracts. Then payment terms. This is something again, vague terms people agree on, and then later say, vessel got delayed, you make my payment. Like somebody writes, before vessel arrival, and then typically like what we face, vessel gets delayed in transshipment port, and then they say, typically we say, my interest meter is on. Whether your meter is on or not, you have not specified that way. You have to be very clear in this. And then last, one more problem is using DDP terms without knowing what are the duty implications. Imagine you agreed on delivery duty paid terms, but afterwards the duty structure changes, or the shipper was not aware, then this becomes a cause of dispute. So best to avoid this is to agree before and use the correct Incoterms. Now, if we do all this, is it all? Do you think disputes cannot happen? Yes, still it will happen. Like if you look, disputes will still happen. Delays will be there, transshipment port delays. Many times people say, you are supposed to bring it in 30 days. Why you didn't bring? Now, shipping is something which we cannot control. It's something which is third party. It's not both buyer and seller. So still there will be disputes. What I feel is negotiations best managed by good communication, discussions. Of course, as a last resort, you can go legal. But you know what will happen in legal? Legal, both the shipper and the buyer, they are not going to benefit. Okay, at the end of it, there will be a solution, but I don't know if there are any lawyers in the house. Any lawyers in the house, please? I don't see lawyers. Lawyers don't come here. Lawyers will earn better. We all will lose money. So I will always prefer the negotiation method. But what is the way forward? I remember I think 2018 in Istanbul, when we all met for the Sesame conference. I think Srivat's 2018 we had this World Sesame Alliance. I think we had something like this. Yeah. So just a thought for the house. We all have to think as a forum. Like I'll give you a parallel example of shipping. Like we have a shipping background, so I can give a comparison. If you're making oil tanker contracts, there are fixed charter parties. There are certain patterns, like Shell charter party number 5, number 6. So you basically agree on the commercial terms. These are mostly like one-page contracts. Can you imagine a very large crude carrier carrying something like 200,000 tons of crude oil? The contract is a one-pager. Here we are talking of 10 containers, 20 containers. There, they've standardized it well. The contracts are just one-pagers because the standards are agreed already. Like if it says Shell charter party number 6, that contract will run into 20 pages, but then you are not signing 20 pages. You know that these are the standard terms. You have the one page and you agree to a format. I think here we'll have to think something like this. As a World Sesame Alliance or as a house, we'll have to ponder over this to have some standard contracts, and at the same time, as members, binding on each other, that if you agree on shipment, if you agree on some payment terms, to kind of, people should not go back on that. That's something which we should make it binding. This is just a thought for the house and how we can align together and maybe make shipping better, and maybe in future never discuss this topic of disputes and have a better life. And with this, I would like to end this presentation, and I'm open for any questions.
Sir, I have a question regarding the Sesame Alliance that you mentioned in the end of your presentation. I think this is the year for us to have a more open dialogue, especially the origins need to talk more, we believe. What do you think could be the way that we can make this actually happen, and how can we articulate all the origins to promote this dialogue? What is your vision on that?
Thank you. I did briefly touch on this topic, that thought of World Sesame Alliance. We have in cashew, for example, I'll just give a parallel example. We have associations. We have Africa Cashew Alliance is there, and we have All India Cashew Association. We had the first seminar recently of so there also the similar discussions are going on. We can take example from what I already told, tankers, oil tankers, very mature industry. They've all come together, agreed on the terms. What they did is when it started, like 30, 40 years ago, they all had disputes. They also had presentations like this, and probably good questions like what you asked. So what I can imagine is somebody like Mr. Srivat's, we can have a panel of people, senior people from the industry, from representing all the stakeholders of this industry, from the origins, from the buying nations. We can have a committee, and we can, I would think of a contract template and a binding template, so that you make it, workable for all. It has to be a win-win. As an industry, we cannot have a one-sided contract. When we all come together, I am very sure we can come up something like what we have in tankers. So that standard contracts are there, standard terms are there. We agree on the standard terms and we stick to it. This is very much possible. We should make this as an agenda. Probably in the next year, have probably an extended committee and a session for the committee alone. It may not be in a whole group of say 500 people, but maybe select 10, 15 people representing the origins and all the stakeholders. I'm sure there is a solution forthcoming. Definitely we can all sit together, agree on the terms. These are standard terms. If we stick to these and then we agree that, okay, Sesame contract will be in these 3 particular templates. It's just a thought. I'm just throwing some ideas. Maybe 3 templates we can provide, say 4 templates. Say give a name, okay, this contract will be Sesame 1, Sesame 2. So we just take a 1-pager, put a price, okay, shipment period, say September, October, price, whatever you like, $1,000, $1,200, and then we say, okay, this template we will follow is Sesame contract number 3. This is what I can imagine, something drawing a parallel from the tanker industry, and I'm sure we can do better with this kind of stakeholders. That's just a thought. Probably we can make a committee and we can sit together. This will resolve most of the problems, and we will spend time more on the development side rather than